Welcome to the Human-Centered AI Design Tech Talk by Deutsche Telekom IT Solutions. My name is Peter Zivin, and I'm here to welcome you and read the questions you may type wherever you watch this screen, be it YouTube or Facebook, anytime during the presentations. We will have time after all the presentations to read those questions and ask the guys who actually have the technical knowledge to do the meaningful presentations during the talk. I think we're going to have a really fun event, a really amazing event today. First of all, Roland and Imre will talk about how we put AI to use today, accelerating one of the largest telco companies in the world. If your guess that company is actually Telecom, your guess is correct. After that, Balint and Szabolcs will talk about designing AI products around humans. And last but not least, Daniel and Eric will bring together the two hottest topics there are at the moment, which are, of course, AI and the environment. I'm really excited to hear these talks. So without further ado, let me hand the stage over to Roland. Roland, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Peter, and welcome everyone. My name is Roland Sander, and with me is also Meze Imre. And let me share the screen. We will talk today about how IT is accelerating telecom with AI. Who we are. So I'm responsible for Service Hub, focusing on end-to-end AI automation blockchain solutions. We work with over 100 experts from over 6 countries. And Imre is part of the software engineering data and analytics chapter. He has over 20 colleagues from the data and analytics skills cluster, so data scientists, data engineers, and modern software engineers. And we are all both part of Deutsche Telekom IT. And Deutsche Telekom IT, we are the internal service IT service provider of Deutsche Telekom. Let's talk about what we are doing as a service hub. First of all, we have one main group area, which is chatbots and digital assistants. We are supporting our service line, service and support desk line. We do automation there. We support brand awareness. We do also marketing campaigns with this digital assistants, and of course, customer retention programs. For instance, if Imre would like to book a conference room, he can write an internal chatbot that he needs a room for a particular amount of time with, for instance, with 5 persons, and this chatbot is assisting him to make the booking and the reservation. But we have also the data and analytics solutions, classical time series predictions. We do also classification there, clustering, anomaly detection, linear regression, supporting finance functions, but most importantly, making our customers to fans. Kunden zu Fans machen is in German. It says making customers to fans. That's a marketing campaign, and that's also so how are we doing this? We are analyzing customer feedback, and then we're trying to understand our customers better and make predictions on how well the products are being sold, and we also make promotions, how it can be enhanced. So we are enhancing our product portfolio with the help of data and analytics, but we are also supporting our internal colleagues in the support line. So we are predicting how many inbound calls we will have in the forthcoming months, when are the peaks. So this helps our colleagues to do also the allocation of the colleagues within the teams, and this is also improving the service quality in various areas. And of course, we are doing many more things which I don't have time to talk about. We also have voicecast platforms. We also have a MLOps platform where these solutions are running, and many more. And the colleagues later will talk about this as well. But I'm handing over to Imre. What can you say about the chapter view?
Well, the chapter view is the people view, actually. We do understand that we have a lot of people who are building their complete careers around us. So we have to start with talents, of course. So current market is really hot, and we need to start as early as possible. So we try to get a hold of all the young talents that we can reach to. We have also university contacts, and we give them real technical challenges. So it's not just taking out the coffees and stuff. It's actual business that they need to do, and with their learnings, whatever they studied, they connect with actual business. We give them constant learning opportunities, so we try to give them real tangible certificates, real tangible knowledge that they can use on the market and use in our benefits, and we think in long-term cooperations. So this long-term cooperation is important for us because we invest in our people and we want to keep them for a really long time. Hence, we have a lot of possibilities for growth. So we don't stagnate our people, we want them to develop further and further. We do have individual focus, so each and every person has a people lead. The people lead has the individual plans and the so-called we grow process. We grow these people into more senior, more advanced colleagues. And there's an approach that we well now cherish is the caring performance. So we like to push. We are a multinational company, but we do care about the people's results and the personal lives as well. We tend to T-shape our people. So if you're not really accustomed with this acronym, so what a T-shape is, so it's not about a company brand name. It's rather the in-depth knowledge that the person has. That would be the one axis of the T, and there would be a broad spectrum that the person needs to also learn. So we don't really want to have silos and silo thinking. We do want to have expertise in all over the areas and one specific expertise in one area. And we have, of course, certain specific roles that go into the T-shaped mode. So one would be definitely the data scientists, which are the fundamentals of everything that we have, who would be then constructing all the models that we have. But of course, these models wouldn't really go into production. So hence we want to have also our MLOps engineers there. MLOps engineers make it happen. But all the structure without the infrastructure wouldn't be also there. So hence we have data engineers also on our side. These are the three core roles that we would have. But of course, there are many, many more. So AI is really a real complex thing by now. As you can see, we could go into details of all these roles and responsibilities that we do have within our company, and we want to make an in-depth knowledge around that. If you just check on what the market needs currently are, it's a very, very complex scenario, and there's more and more demands coming in. So if you just check on the 2022 numbers, it's actually a booming market. So whatever you can think of, and in these areas, these are definitely the top occupations, definitely the areas which you want to develop yourself into. And I'm handing back to you, Roland.
Thank you very much for putting this together. And when we are talking about AI and AI systems, we need to have guidelines. And Telecom has guidelines, ethical guidelines, and guidelines how to develop artificial intelligence-based systems in our company. First of all, first rule, we want responsible systems, meaning we are, at the end of the day, responsible for that system and not an AI system. Second, it has to be careful, meaning it needs to obey the law. It's not, we don't want systems that are creating their own rules. Third one, it should support our colleagues, humans, and not the other way around. Fourth one, we need transparent systems, meaning we are sharing what kind of customer data we are working with our customers. So it's not like no one knows about what kind of data we are handling, and we have really strict processes for that as well. Security. So we have also clear security processes in place how to develop this system. So nothing can go live without proper investigation, proper assessment, security and data privacy assessments. Sixth, it should be reliable. We set the framework, not the robots. Seventh, it should be trustworthy. So we should be, at the end of the day, in control, not the AI system, because we want to intervene when something is going wrong at the end of the day. 8, it should be cooperative. So we foster a cooperative model. It should help humans, and we should get the best out of human-machine interactions. Last but not least, point 9, illustrative. So we are spreading knowledge about AI, about our AI system within the company, and teaching the relevant skills necessary to overcome the fear of artificial intelligence. Thank you for your attention. I would like to hand over to Balint and Szabolcs.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Coming up. Can you... I just turn on the techniques and let's start. So, hi, everyone. My name is Bálint Kardos. I'm a UX, UI, and product designer here at Deutsche Telekom. And my colleague is next to me is Szabolcs Domján, who is an AI product owner. And the reason why we doing this presentation together is basically because we are working together strongly, and it's also affecting basically our topic today, which is designing human-centered AI products. What is the topic today? Let's start with this. And I really hope it's going to be useful and interesting also for those who came from the AI area and also who is maybe a little bit out of the area, or product designers or UX designers or someone else from the business side. So let's start with this. What is human-centered AI design? And maybe it sounds a little bit like a buzzword. So what can be behind it? And human-centered is basically means this very similar, like user-centric. But how we can be user-centric? So we have to start with the user, and we have to understand the user by research, interviews, and after that testing. But let's talk about a little bit later about it. The AI, the second part of this phrase, which probably very obvious, the technology is AI, but here also, in order to deliver value by AI, we have to focus also on the third part of the phrase, design. And design means, in this term, we have product design method. So what we can phrase as UX design, and the design process is very important to deliver value by AI. And in order to do so, for example, we prototype, validate quickly. But we also talk about it a little bit later. So, Sabi, what is a typical problem when we're talking about AI product design?
Yeah, the typical problem is now, as you could see, we are now not only combining design and human-centric, but we put AI there. But yeah, in general, as you probably noticed in your life, like this expression, artificial intelligence, AI, is like surrounding us at the moment, and it's everywhere, wherever we are, whenever we are considering any product or software, somewhat like smart or intelligent. And sometimes this brings us to the stage because we are working in a very exciting technology, of course. Even like imagine like when you are inventing something new, which is like, okay, it's a technical breakthrough, and yeah, you are very proud of that. But you tend to forget about like, okay, how that product will be useful. So it's like it drives the businesses sometimes towards a direction where we are focusing on the technology but not on the problem. And basically it carries like certain risks, and like sometimes if like no user needs it or no real problems, or even the software, sometimes it's not really useful. So it's like really we are like what we want to also cover. What does it mean when we are trying to shift from a technology-centered approach towards a human-centric approach? And like in the next slide, what we can see example, probably, as I said, you already had some contact with some kind of artificial intelligence solution. And of course, AI has the nature of yeah, it's encoded in AI that it will eventually make mistakes anyway, so as humans. But like really, are we prepared for those mistakes? Really? Like how it will affect your experience? Is it a critical thing or not? But like imagine like a scenario, example, one of the biggest mobile company like producing mobile phones, when they introduced the new feature for facial recognition. Initially, it had the problem you weren't able to unlock the phone because you couldn't recognize when you just shaved yourself and removed your beard. So it's like it's a typical thing, and this can be really avoided if you approach this from this human-centric way. And like as in the next steps, as you can see, sometimes we tend to jump into the development in a very early stage. It's connected basically to what I said, and this is like a risk that we really don't explore the user needs and personas there. And we can run into situations like that even if you are the biggest. So that's why it's very important to cover this part.
Yeah, it's very true. So what Sabi mentioned, it's because the fail was not because the technology is not able to recognize someone who is shaved, but because there was no this scenario was not explored at the very beginning. So maybe there was not enough user journey, basically, where you can see the different scenarios, what the user can do during the process. When, for example, you start to use your phone, what can be a situation? And maybe the test was not enough, but there is this typical problem. What we can see, especially if there is a time pressure, maybe there is the risk to develop to code too early. But how we can solve it? So how we can solve it? This problem is to go to first start here where this arrow is and explore what are the user needs, what we already mentioned, who are the stakeholders, and how the user doing the daily job currently, or maybe it's a task or any other process. And when we are when we have a clear problem statement, we can go to the create part, which is the second area, and we can start the design. We can prototype, and based on these feedbacks, when we are happy and when we tested it, we can develop it. And maybe let's go to the next one. Basically, it's a quite traditional product design method. Probably you have seen it in design thinking or UX design or any other method, but all of them is basically speaking about this. And it's an iterative process, so you have to get the feedback as early as possible. But as you can see here, by these feedbacks, you can validate the need very early and test it very early, and we can avoid a lot of time-consuming, let's say, waterfall model when we develop something what is not met with the user needs.
And you might in this scenario, like you might find out like the AI itself, because it was like very needed from someone, but you maybe find out it's really not improving the core experience for the user. So we could phrase it like it's not really delivering value in the process, but you can still pivot, or you maybe identify new areas, segments where you can apply AI, and it's a huge win-win, because you find low-hanging fruits in the process. That's where AI can thrive. So that's why like this part is like crucial in this process.
Yeah. And okay, so we talked about a little bit what is human-centric, and maybe let's go a little bit deeper and deeper. So when we are talking about testing, for example, or early validation with users, how we can save time and how we can save budget and how we can get real user feedback. What you can see here on the screen, on the one side, there is a clickable prototype, which is basically a user interface design. And the other side, you can see a developed application with AI, where is code behind the screen. I guess you cannot see too much difference between the two, and you are correct, because there is no difference between the two. Of course, it's not perfect for every scenario and every problem, but it's in the most of this case, you can ask the user based on this clickable prototype, even without coding and developing, the main questions at the beginning, like, is this information what you need? Or is the data is meaningful? Or do you need other data? And if you get this feedback at the very beginning of the design process, you at the end you will have when you develop the application, you will have a very valuable AI product and solution, and probably the user will be more satisfied.
Well, but like, okay, of course, you can have the question, like sometimes, of course, if the core experience is coming from AI, so let's say you are building a recommendation system or even a chatbot or some newsfeed automation, then of course, like what you want to test is AI, because that's what makes you different, let's say, from competitors. But even in these scenarios, combining like these techniques, can be validated. So example, like at the beginning, humans are doing things in the background, like moving the things or answering, but it's still the key is to get the information from the users, what's important for them. And map the scenarios what we had, like really when it can fail, because you will be accountable for the errors. And in general, how we really use this technique at the company, I would say, this is how we like start our processes, and it's really helping us to avoid these, let's say, endless development cycles. Because there is one more thing, like models can be optimized endlessly, and you will be never when you will be done. That's what when the product will be done, and that's kind of challenging thing here.
Yeah, it's so true. You have the goal what you would like to achieve, and it's a clear plan. But let's see how we can set the right expectation. But maybe you also have seen. A lot of people think AI is capable for everything, and also a few people think AI is dummy or stupid in some cases. And of course, none of them is true. It depends on sometimes something is easy for human and difficult for AI, and sometimes it's something is difficult for AI and easy for humans. So it's different on the scenario. But Sabi, maybe you can tell this example with the chatbot GDP. How does it look like in a chatbot scenario?
But as you said, like the very important part, of course, some people think it's like dummy, but lots of people think based on research, like whenever we are talking about these systems, it's like they are having like human-like abilities. So example, like these models, they think on a way as we do human, but here, example, if you probably heard about ChatGPT, interacted with it, or at least you could see some meme about that. But here is one example that it can like reproduce. Like if I would ask this question from a human, I think most of the people would know the difference. Of course, don't talk about in which language this is. But like if you have a look at the answer, it's like it's not only about it's completely wrong, but he approached this problem on a very complex way, and it's like really hard to explain why did it happen. And really, as you can see, it's not how a human would think in such a scenario. So it's like really when we are developing something, that's what we need to manage here. Yeah.
Okay, so how AI can add the most value, and maybe this is something what you can talk about a little bit, because sometimes AI is better and sometimes human is better. So how does it look like?
Yeah, this is like the typical discussion between AI and human. As in the previous example, you could see, and probably also like referring to ChatGPT many times, it's like thriving. It's like outstanding the results that it can deliver. Like I'm personally very fascinated how it works on the knowledge base that it's using. But still, like in general, like where AI thrives, it's like basically example in case of like recommendation systems, where based on lots of data points, it connects them, and you can generate personalized content for you, or predicting future events. It's like basically like forecasting, or recognizing certain patterns, which is like, let's say, image recognition, or in self-driving cars. It's like based on vast amount of data, it can process it even better than humans sometimes. Of course, mistakes will be still there, but this is very thrive. But like AI in general really lacks intuition. So it's like sometimes it will fail reacting like for a certain situation. Imagine like self-driving car seeing something for the first time, or the creative aspect. Example, the slang in the language translation. Maybe this is coming close because we not only have ChatGPT that could challenge me, what I'm saying. We have the Dolly. You could see like probably also what nice images it can generate. So like artists and designers now, they are a bit scared. So maybe there's a last year of Balint as designer here. But we are a bit far from that. And of course, the ethical aspect. So it's like, you could see like sometimes these ethical questions are not there because, as I mentioned, it's not thinking like a human. So like it's very important to always like keep the human in the loop at least like consider it. And that's when we are coming, I think, to the trust topic.
Let's talk a little bit about how we can build trust in AI. And of course, as previously was mentioned, so AI can be very, very smart, very complex, and very dummy. It depends on how we design it. So And of course, people have different experiences. Maybe some AI expert, of course, trust in AI, but maybe someone who has never used a chatbot, not really trust in AI. So it's very important from the viewpoint of the user to build this trust and creating transparency, even in this case, when some models, some AI solution looks like a black box. You know, sometimes even data scientists don't know exactly how is it working behind the screen. But it's very important, and we don't have to tell how the technology is working, what the model is considering. But from the user viewpoint, it's important to understand the result in some way. And of course, later on, I will speak about what we can achieve by this. But for example, if you have a result on the screen, it's quite good. If you have a recommendation, if you tell to the user the recommendation is based on your previous search, for example, what you can see here.
Yeah. But like, of course, like it's a black box model, and yeah, it's very well phrased. Like, of course, that even like data scientists or ML engineers know like how it works in general. At least when we are going into this higher complexity space, but still like a simple confidence score, which still won't tell too much to the user. If I say for an event will occur with 90% of possibility, like then still it's something that not too meaningful, but also what Brian said, it can be presented in a way that will help the user to build like trust and making sure the decision can be controlled by the user. So that's one way, and there are things that you can extract and present on a let's say meaningful way.
Yeah, and this is lead to the next part. How we can explain the result. And of course, it has to be explainable, or it has to be on the level of the user. So of course, it's very different in a chatbot situation, in a forecast situation, or maybe in a self-drive car situation. And but it's very important to explain in a meaningful way. So, for example, if you have an image recognition, what you can see at the phone, the girl with the bicycle is recognized. So and it's visually visible by the dots. Okay, the AI recognized the image, so it's on the track. If you see the second one, it's a very typical and very common situation nowadays when the self-driving cars, when you are sitting in a self-driving car and basically you are here in one car, and maybe even the AI is covering most of the situation and really solving, I don't know, 90% of the situation, which is very good. But as a user, it's very handy if you know that, okay, the AI can see the bus, for example, next to you and the car front of you. Because if there is something unexpected, there where the AI may be not very well prepared. If there is, I don't know, a bird and the AI model is not trained for the bird, what is flying to your car, you have to interrupt the AI and you have to solve the situation yourself. And if you can see on the screen what is the base of the AI, what can recognize, you can make decisions. If you have only a black screen and you don't know what AI recognized, you cannot make a decision. You cannot take the control back from the AI. And at the third example, it's also quite similar. If you have a forecast, a prediction, for example, you are a finance expert and you have a prediction how many phone will be sell in the next year. Of course, very good if you have the data, like this is the data and you will sell, I don't know, 2,000 phone in December. It's very good, of course. But can you trust in AI? Can you tell that, okay, if you go to your boss, okay, the AI said this is the prediction, but you can be much more, let's say, you are in a safe position if you know that there is a very, let's say, unexpected situation. There is a peak in the graph, so something happening what is not usual, and you can see, okay, this is unusual. So why is it like that? The new phone release expected at that time, and you can check, okay, is the new phone release is really will be at that time? Is it a real news? What is a base for AI or not?
And actually, this one is like for some story time. I think we are doing pretty well on time. So it's like example. This is a typical use case that we have or we had. Of course, many forecastings are being accomplished. Let's say within telecom itself. And yeah, when we like have working on products like this, that's what we have seen. So even though in the past, like they were like, let's say using some spreadsheets, whatever more simple models to generate forecasts. When we introduced like let's say an AI-based forecast, which is like, of course, it's like very well spread thing. We straight away noticed like of course, but why do we have when we have an error? Like, okay, why? I mean, it's for a human, it's obvious, even though I mean, according to this accuracy and all these things were very accurate what we provided, but why? And then straight away, like they started to, okay, how can we interpret how the model made the decisions? Just like I'm just saying the real world example, like of course, like why we have that peak? Well, because there is a new product release and things like that. And this is how we could actually build trust, because when we just provided like an accuracy, yeah, previous month was very good. And next month, when you need to assign some euros for something, then we really want to make sure you are making it based on the right decision. And we are like providing all these meaningful things usually like to the forecasters, whatever we can extract, what was affecting the forecasts. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next part.
Yeah, and then it's kind of, again, it's close to like augmenting things or automating things. And yeah, that's like it's pretty common argument or discussion. Of course, we, as reflecting back to the first part when we started, like AI is very promising, and some people makes like it's equal with automation, but it's not the case in every terms. Example, like of course, AI is like very handy when you are automating like repetitive tasks, simple tasks, and actually tasks which ones are, let's say, at low stake. So it's like, of course, no human life in danger, or there won't be ethical consequences or anything. So it's like, but the goal here to really eliminate or remove the human element from the process. But of course, there is the concept of augmenting things and all these recommendations, and actually what Balin mentioned, many use cases. I think more will come, but it's basically when, of course, we are not focusing on removing the humans, but making their work more meaningful. Example like this forecaster example. So we haven't automated the process, but we have been providing them information that they could use, and they could actually become like superhumans. And this is basically like keeping the human in the loop concept. So it's like, actually there is like a nice term, and I very believe in this, like usually like this AI itself won't replace humans, but humans using AI will. And I would say this is kind of a trend that I see, and that's why we found it like also important to talk about this, because if your automation use case wherever, let's say, fails, it doesn't mean AI cannot help in the process. That's why you can find these places where you can augment, example, certain capabilities. So, yeah.
Okay, so what about so when we do different kind of use cases, one of them, what we need to consider is the cost of error. So as Sabi mentioned, in some case, the process is easy and it can be automated. In other case, it's a kind of support for the user, which give you a help, some kind of super capabilities, super skills, what AI helps, but at the end, the human has to make the decision. And let's see one example, which is representing it. So probably all of you has a kind of Spotify or music recommendation system where you have recommended musics, even in YouTube, for example. And if there is a mistake, for example, from free to music is your taste, you really like it, you would like to you like to listen it, but the third one, which was recommended by AI, is not really is your taste, and you don't really like it. It's not really a big problem. Maybe even in this situation, it can be an advantage because you explore something new. So it's not a problem. In this case, it's a high risk tolerance. So the risk is you don't have to pay a lot of money. Your life is not in danger. So it's not a problem. In this case, it can be automated quite well. And the human is not very, very important in the loop. Even you can give feedback, for example, do you like this music or not? But let's see the other case, and maybe this is a very typical one. So healthcare. Here we cannot say that everything can be automated and everything can be solved by AI. So let's see the first example, which is a little bit a bad example. And this is also show that why human centricity and user experience is very important in AI, because if we say that the patient, for example, the fact is that 66% of the is the probability of no health issue at a patient. So let's say it's more than 50. So we can say, okay, it's there is no health issue. If we see it mathematically, it's basically can be something. But if we see if the communication is to the user, who can be, let's say, the doctor or the patient, that this patient has no health issue, nobody will do anything else. Even there is this 33 or 4%, which is basically a significant risk. And how we can solve it? So even if the AI model is working the same, the technical is the same AI model, but we tell to the user this 66% probability of no health issues, but doctor check needed. So we keep the human in the loop, and at the end, maybe if you are a patient, you go to the doctor and be sure you have no problem at all. Or maybe the doctor say that, okay, seems like that it's not a very risky situation, but let's have a check. So at the end, the human will say the final word, because it's a low risk tolerance use case. And of course there is a couple of situations, but it's generally much better to keep the human in the loop if there is a big risk, even if we are speaking about budget or life. And this is how we can support it by communication. And of course, based on this, there is this optimization, what we can optimize, because probably Sabik, I think, can tell a lot of customers, a lot of users think that I need 100% accuracy. So AI has to be perfect, but it's not the truth. It's not perfect, but we can optimize it. How is it working?
Well, definitely. Let's need for sure that, like, as product managers, owners, or even data scientists, like, you face this, of course. Like of course, I want a solution that is like for sure it will work, because we are more critical with AI, as it's a bit scary. But like usually you will face this dilemma, like, are you optimizing for precision or recall? Like, if I would very oversimplify, like, precision is like in the case when you really care about the results, which ones you are getting back are correct. So example, if you want, if you don't want noise, if you don't want anything else that it returns, or when we are talking about recall, you are, let's say, lowering down the threshold, and you allow some noise into the data. So example, in case of like you're listening music, some music that is not fitting to your taste, but you make sure all the correct answers are there. In case of precision, this like threshold is very high. So yeah, eventually still it's impossible to reach this 100, but in case of the precision, it's like you are really focusing on the correct answers. So it's like, and that's what you need to always decide, what is important for the users, that's what you need to understand. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is lead to the next, let's say, topic, which is give the control to the user in these cases. So as you see, sometimes it's more critical, sometimes it's less critical, but by, let's say, the user interface design, by the product design, we can thinking about that, what is important for the user, and maybe there is more than one good answer what AI can give you. So of course, AI will, for example, recommend you dresses, and probably, or maybe some of them will, is like your taste, you like it, you would buy it, for example, if you are talking about a web shop. But what about if you would like to be, for example, if you change your mind, or if you would like to give a kind of feedback for the AI and make the decision even better, or make the recommendation even better. So in this case, for example, you can set up or give the control by filtering And if we're talking about dresses, maybe you have a special occasion and a special event today, so you would like to be more classical, more formal, and you can say, okay, I would like to buy something which is good for the winter. And in this case, so you have the control as a user, even AI doing the job behind it. And it's also true for example, the feedback system, which is quite common. I think you can see it in most of the web shops and at a lot of spaces. So give a rating, because AI can learn based on this user feedback and give you a better user experience, or if you would like to avoid this buzzword, basically can give you a better recommendation or better result.
And I think that's the last slide, so just hold tight.
Yeah. So we talked a lot. I think we touched a few aspects how we can be more human-centered, and how we try to do it here at the company. And as you see, it's very important to keep the user in the center, or at least take it in a very important place. And if it's working very well with the technical side. Usually it's a good business as well, so the business is also satisfied. And if we have this sweet spot in the middle, that's a very good AI product what we can get at the end.
Yeah, I think that's well phrased. So I think we have reached the end, right? So yeah.
So thank you very much. I really hope it was somehow interesting for you. And maybe if you have questions, we are happy to speak about it, probably at the last presentation, which coming after this. So thank you very much for your attention.
Hi everybody. Hi. Just one sec. We will turn on the camera. Hi everybody. I am Eric Gephardt.
Hi, I'm Daniel Golu.
We are machine learning engineers in the Service Hub Robotics and AI. And today we are going to present an AI use case which helps accelerate Deutsche Telekom to reach net zero, and where AI is used to support the work of technicians and energy managers. At the beginning of the presentation, my colleague and I will take on the role of presenting those two different user groups. And throughout the presentation, we will demonstrate how this AI solution can assist them in their day-to-day activities, and how it can be used to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of energy management in field service operations, like for example in this MFG box, as you can see in the screen.
So as a field service technician, I get a work order to perform maintenance on these junction boxes. And as you know, technology is constantly changing. This could include installing or removing devices from them. You might have came across these boxes in Germany and Hungary as well. In Hungary, we are having decorated ones. In Germany, they are mostly gray boxes. These boxes are called MFG boxes, and there are a few thousand scattered throughout the country. These boxes play a crucial role in providing internet and telecommunication services to customers. They contain various components for service distribution, and as I mentioned previously, as technology advances, some of these components needs to be upgraded or retired to ensure the better efficiency and high quality services. So in the field as a technician, my work at a high level could be described in 5 points. So first I arrive at the site, and then I open these boxes carefully to not do any damage in the components inside. Then I take a before photo from different angles to basically document how the box looks like before the maintenance. then I identify the obsolete or replaceable parts and carry out the maintenance itself. After my work is done, then I'm doing the after photos to document basically how the work is done and what components are removed from these boxes.
And the other user group is, as an energy manager, their responsibility involves facilitating energy savings and implementing these energy saving options, leading awareness programs, and monitoring the company's energy consumption. Their work at a high level includes planning the replacements and the recyclement of these outdated energy components, so they can further optimize the energy savings and reduce our environmental impact on the planet. But managing such a huge knowledge base of different technologies in the box can be really challenging in terms of planning these retirement operations. In addition, if these boxes are more densely packed and not optimally built, then it can affect ventilation, which means they tend to overheat, and it results in a higher energy consumption, and it needs more frequent repairs and replacements.
Yeah, but however, as a technician, I cannot simply remove or move any device without a work order in place, because most of these devices could be providing services to customers still.
Yeah, but determining which device to retire is currently a really complicated and time-consuming task. To identify these potential retirement candidates, the energy manager must consider multiple data sources and business intelligences as well, which makes planning and prioritization really challenging. But fortunately, there is AI, which is a convenient tool when it comes to this automation and optimization of large-scale processes.
So what we have showcased so far is the typical way we start working on a use case by first engaging with the users and customers to understand the needs and problems. Then we try to determine if AI can help us add unique value to this process. And human expertise in various processes is sometimes indispensable. Our focus here is how AI can uniquely address this and identify users involved in this process. In the example that we have just mentioned, technicians are required to take before and after photos, and as such, this results in a huge amount of archive data that is not fully utilized. This huge archive is being used by different user groups, and they regularly use this as a visual information for quality control and planning. If it is implemented properly, this is where AI thrives, offering multiple methods and approaches to make use of this vast data.
And the following concept is a complex technology made simple. As you know, humans perceive images through their eyes, their sight, while computers view them as numerical arrays, which is a fundamentally different method of interpretation, of course. But from this numerical representation, computers are able to recognize patterns and learn how to identify similar pieces of the information, called features, in new images. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses neural networks to learn and recognize these features, these patterns in data. But when it comes to image recognition tasks, deep learning has shown to be more effective than traditional machine learning methods. This is because deep learning algorithms are able to identify and preserve important local features in images, such as, for example, edges, textures, and shapes that may be lost in traditional machine learning algorithms or otherwise. In summary, this is a simplified explanation of the technology behind our solution.
So, and as a solution, we have successfully trained an object detection model that recognizes dozens of different devices and how they are structured or laid in these boxes. We also developed a machine learning pipeline for data post-processing to make sure that the data what we have and provide it to the users are in a user-friendly format. This business intelligence is serving as a layer for quality control to detect any anomalies in the existing inventory and keeping this inventory list up to date. So we are supplying this relevant information to different user groups, such as planners, analysts, and technicians.
Yeah, and also this business intelligence allows the company to identify and optimize these opportunities for optimizing energy savings. And also the utilization of AI has significantly accelerated this retirement process that we just explained. And it reduces the energy consumption of these redundant components, thus constantly reducing the environmental impact of the company. And this is a typical use case where AI enhances the process and enables humans to be more efficient and productive. And that's what we all had for today. And now we are going to have a Q&A session.
Thank you so much, guys. If I may ask all the presenters to please turn on your video so you're all visible, and maybe we can close the sharing screen so we can all grow our bodies or heads at least for the cameras. So I had fun and we received several good questions. I was especially happy about one of them because someone reached out to us and asked where she could watch the stream. And that was the only question I could answer. And I hope that she's watching on Facebook. And that was a very satisfying moment to me. But the good news is that for all the other questions, we have you guys here as experts. So the first question that came up was around, how do you convince people not to be afraid of AI? So this is, I believe, what Roland was talking about. And I think this fear is the Terminator fear or the Schwarzenegger film fear that could come to people's mind when they talk about fearing AI. How would you convince someone not to be afraid?
Thank you very much. That's a quite tricky question, and everyone has a different answer for that. In my opinion, I mean, the reason of fear, what is the reason of fear? I would ask the question, what is behind that fear? And talk to that person, because we need to be sure that, so first of all, the nature of fears, it's not coming from an AI system, it's about the human behind that. Are we transparent enough to explain what that system is doing? Are we following the guidelines? Does everyone understand what this is doing? And this is how fear is generated if the people don't talk with each other, in my opinion. So what I realized is that when we start talking and they learn who is behind the team, what kind of persons, then this fear is going away in general. So because we don't allow black box solutions and we have strict guidelines for developing AI systems, and at the end of the day, human beings are behind that. So that's how we resolve this trust issue with talking with the departments, with the people, and so in 100% of the cases, there was never an issue about that. Luckily, we didn't have to face this kind of situation that someone said, I'm not doing this because I have fear, I don't want to work with you, I don't have trust with you. But it's depending on the situation. And Szabolcs, go on, please.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Maybe what I can add to this, if as Roland mentioned, transparency is very important, and of course we have to show, for example, if we are talking about the user interface, the transparency to explain what's happening and why happening on the level of the user. So it depends on who is the user. If it's a finance expert, it's important why the finance decisions is like that. If it's a regular user with a chatbot, it's a different scenario. So in this way, we can show why is it happening in that way. And if you are not happy with that, we give you back the control. So you can skip the recommendation. You can, I don't know, call the support, the call center if you would like to speak with a human. So somehow we give the control to the user.
And yeah, that's the thing. That's what we are, like we mentioned, like that's calibrating the trust, like really understanding what are the risks that the person also, like as Ron said, like fears of. And that's what we are trying to calibrate with prototype and with these techniques. If it's really solving, does he or she still has it? So yeah.
Thank you so much for all three of you, I guess. The next question came about timing. So the question was, how long does it usually take to develop a full project? And there was also another question related to timing phrased in a different way. I think Balint did a fantastic job explaining that you need to start with explore when you do one of these AI-driven user-centric projects. But what happens if there is no time? I have seen a few projects run, and it's very seldom that someone comes to you and says, take all the time in the world, take all the money in the world, and do it as slow as you want. Usually what happens, you need to do it quick, you need to do it with low budget. So what happens then? What about timing? How long does a project like this take, and what do you do if you need to speed it up?
Would like to answer this?
Yeah, I don't know. Roland?
Okay, yeah, I can start. Maybe you can give some input here. As we are working agile, it's really hard to say when it's something 100% finished, and AI is highly explorative on top. So we have topics where we have a prototype within weeks ready and can implement a proof of concept very fast within months, a solution to the business area. And we have topics where we work for months or years because always changing data sets, new data is coming, changes on the structure in the departments and so on. So it's really hard to say. We have big flagship topics and we have the small quick wins as well. And what we asked before the exploration phase, what Balint and Soboc has talked about is that we have also open discussion with the business and ask them, how does it support your organization? What is your problem that you want to solve? Does it really create value? And don't do it with AI only because it's trendy. That's rule number one, because sometimes a process optimization or an automation is also enough. So it's depending on the nature of the problem, how we tackle this.
Yeah, maybe what I can add to this is we have hackathons, for example, or for example, you can imagine a design sprint 1 week, and this is a very good example when you have to show something very quickly, and I think it's a good way to learn how we can come up with a kind of solution, a prototype in few days, and after that, if we present it, the business or someone can validate it. Is it what they are looking for or not? And after that, if we see that, okay, the goal is clear, we can invest more time and money and go to the details. I think by this we can reduce the time. At least we don't spend time on something what is not really valuable for the user and the business.
But yeah, as you said, at this exploration phase, of course, you can go with like higher speed because not much development involved. But the other thing that we are trying to do to reduce this cycle is basically like from the product side, we try to deliver end to end, even from, let's say, the first sprint. We are working in Agile. Yeah, example what the guys developed, this detecting these components, even from the first week. The guy like they could interact with some predictions. They weren't perfect, of course, because it wasn't, but the end users could interact and we could see how they react. What's the fear that is coming from this prediction? But it's like 60%. But it was, again, it's a great opportunity to identify what is important for them. So one thing that I can recommend, always try to deliver end to end, not just like, okay, first I develop the AI component, then I develop the dashboard, whatever. It's again prototyping. You can fake it with some Excel spreadsheet, doesn't matter, but the process that you mapped should be like end to end, and that gives you, it's like lean. It gives you opportunity to identify places for improvements. This is how you can technically reduce, I would say.
Yeah, and maybe one idea to this, what Sobi mentioned. So don't afraid to go to the user at the very beginning. If you are not ready, if it's not shiny, it's not a problem because you get the feedback earlier. And you can decide how you continue, but go to the user very early.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. There are two more questions that I really want to ask. One of them actually generated a discussion on YouTube or on YouTube wall. And I think the original question was stated by Ahmed. I hope I'm not butchering your name. I'm sorry if I do. And it was around HITL, which is, I believe, human in the loop. I hope I'm right on that one. So whether we need to keep humans in the loop or not, and I think during the presentation, a case was made that humans need to be in the loop. However, if you think back to historical examples, when trains were invented, I believe for a certain period of time, it was required that a man on a horse needed to ride in front of a train and ring a bell really loud and be careful, the train is coming, it is scary. We need to have a human in the loop to let you know that the train is coming so no one gets killed. So I think the discussion was around whether human involvement actually slows down AI development, or is it something that needs to be there in order to keep it safe, or for some other reason? Who would like to take this one?
I'm stepping back now, so if someone wants to.
Yeah, maybe what we showed as an example. So it's probably depends on really what is the use case, because as we mentioned, the cost of the error is very important. So if it's a very simple situation like recommending a new music for you, okay, you don't have to show, I don't know, before you listen a new music to someone who say, okay, it's not dangerous for you. But if we are talking about healthcare decision, I think it's a long time when you need a doctor who finally who say the final word. Or if we're talking about, I don't know, hunting, is it really a, I don't know, a pig what you would like, the AI would like to shout, or is it a human? Of course, maybe so there will be someone who say that, okay, it's the hunting is going in a good way. And there is a couple of area like the self-driving cars is like this, where okay, maybe AI would say that avoid the accident with the other accident, but is it really the case how you would like to solve the accident? So,
and actually you mentioned this like healthcare thing. So, and probably whoever like Ahmed asked, like, and then discussion started, like probably we are aware, like many cases, even in healthcare, like these algorithms, let's say checking MRI images, are doing better than doctors. And like in terms of if you like put human versus AI, it's faster, it won't get tired, it won't get bored. So it sounds promising, but still, and technically it could replace humans, but like then it makes the question, like cost of error, as Balint said, it's huge, as we are talking about human life. So then we bring into these ethical and moral topics, then that's a risky to take completely humans out, because then it always again will generate fear. And yeah, that's a very tough topic. I don't hear there is no right answer, but it's at the moment I would say it's safer. But we are in the stage, I would say, when we are AI is getting widespread, and everyone will interact with it, and acceptance will increase over time. So maybe we will forget about this human in the loop concept, and technology also evolves. But at the moment, that's the safest way to make sure like everybody will trust in this, I would say. Yeah.
Very good point. It's like developing, for instance, medicine, right? So how much testing is enough? When is it enough to say? I mean, at the end of the day, human being needs to say, I think it's enough of testing. If it needs years, then it's years, because we have to have the human in the decision, in the lead here. And not because, of course, we want to be fast and we want to deliver, but trust is something that is developed over years and months, and it takes time, and you can ruin that with one mistake.
Thank you so much. I think bringing in the whole medication thing and when what comes there, I find that a fascinating aspect, especially because I think we all would have a very different opinion about this pre-COVID-19. So we would be very much be safe, don't rush it. But hey, when you're locked up for a year in your home, no matter how much you love your family, you do want to get that vaccine really fast, I think. So one last question, we have time for that. And that is around how does the human-centered AI development approach is different from the general agile development approach. So the whole AI human-centered development reminded whoever asked the question, and actually myself as well, to the agile development. So how does this whole thing, AI being involved, makes it different, makes it more fun?
Maybe my 50 cents to this is basically, as you see, design thinking was also on the slides. UX design, product design, industrial design. Agile was actually not there, but it could be there. So these are very similar things with very similar approach, and the main character is always the same. You always have to start with the problem. You always have to explore. You always have to go to your users. You always have to design, develop something, and after that you have to test it. And based on these feedbacks, you have to start again if it's necessary. And most of the case, these are iterations. And I think it's a little bit sometimes has more disadvantage than advantage when we use too much buzzwords and fancy words, and because people don't really know what is behind it. And if you don't really know what actually the action, what you would like to do, so okay, do a user interview or do a user test. This is the action what you will do. You don't know what exactly, how does it look like and work. Maybe you think, okay, it's only a new approach, a new method or something, and we don't really care about it. But if we go deeper, we know, okay, how is it working in everyday life? And it's not so difficult, but there is a certain steps what you have to follow.
And what we have talked about, it's like completely compatible with Agile. Like this design method, it's about like, I would say this is what is unlocking the full potential of Agile, because this is how you can get a proper backlog and actually proper like a user need in a story or something like that. So it's this exploration, of course, at the initial phase, like lots of uncertainty. You are doing like something like this, circles going back. But of course, after a while, it will get clean, and you will see, I will have like proper backlog. Your needs will be clear, personas will be clear, and that's it. And you won't find it out in the middle. So it's like at the beginning, you need to deal with the uncertainty as part of the exploration, but it still can be accomplished within Agile framework. We're not breaking it.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Actually, you can just do it even more rapidly, like smaller sprints or whatever. But yeah, it's that's one thing way to.
Yeah, common sense is always the key. So how we call it, okay, doesn't matter, but what we are doing in that's really matters.
Thank you so much, guys. There is one question that's still open in my mind, but I don't think we will be able to answer that. And that question is that when a presenter who talks about his own opinion and misuses the usually used English phrase, my 2 cents are, referring to his own opinion, and says my 50 cents are, I think all humans would understand what he actually means. But would an AI realize that he's not talking about an American performer, but is talking about his own opinion? I would love to know that. And frankly, I'm going to take a chatbot and check that.
Peter, you are on the point. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Finally, some use for some real use for AI. No, just kidding. I think we heard quite a few exciting uses for AI. And as I promised to myself, I really found the whole presentation and discussion enjoyable. I hope this promise also held true for you guys. And this was it, really. Thank you so much for taking part and watching. Thank you very much for the presenters. Thank you very much for all those who joined to us online. And please do take the time to respond to a short questionnaire that we are going to send out to learn that you actually liked it as much as we did. And do stay tuned, because we are planning to follow up this tech talk with other tech talks by Deutsche Telekom IT Solutions Hungary. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.